Hello and welcome to another episode of Something Something Chat Show with Tom Jr. Jackson presents a very goof live stream. I am, as always, your host with the most, Tom Jr. Jackson. That's right, folks. And we are here today. It is Thursday, June 29th. It is game day, as the kids call it. And we are just about, I don't know, a few moments away. Tonight is the sneak preview of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. I will be going tomorrow to see it. Tomorrow. And in the Westerly, Rhode Island area, come join me. Hello to my friend, collaborator, co-conspirator, and all-around friend of the channel and moderator, RM. It is great to see you, and it is a beautiful day. It's a bit humid for me, but it's a beautiful day. And as we can see here, I have sprung for the professional version of StreamYard, my overlay. I wish you could join me too. One of these days. Well, we will get together. Don't worry about that. We will get together. And as always, folks, please remember to comment, comment, subscribe, and share the stream that you're watching or videos that you watch on my channel. Everything is in a playlist, so it's all in one area. Let's see here. I have my list. Thank you. I'm trying to play around with it and figure out how to get this to work just right. So I'm playing around with it. Share playlist. Please check out the Burnett work and Positive Fandom, and after the sequels here on YouTube. As a matter of fact, tonight at, is it 5 or 6? There's a live stream on I think either the Burnett work or Positive Fandom or both for Gettysburg with RM and the resident historian Darth Plato. That's right. And as always, folks, if you would like to send me an email, which, by the way, I'm enjoying this. I enjoy getting emails. So please send them in. It would be great to have this, have an email from you. We can discuss something, discuss a topic. You can tell me what you like about the show. Oh. And I'm back. Okay. So, anyways, if you would like to send me an email, stuck. I am okay. There we go. If you would like to send me an email, send it to Tom's something email 69 at proton.me. That's PROTON.me. If you would like to send an email to me. Okay, so we got that out of the way. Okay, so let's do what I've been. See, let's do a little bit of news first. So let's get that out of the way. And again, I'm very sorry for my bopping in and out. As I say, I have the world's worst email, the world's worst internet, uh, Frontier internet. So if you're working for Frontier, you want to give me something good, contact me. So let's see here. Let's get into some news. News. That's not what I wanted, but it's okay. Let's see here. If I can get into my other email. Just a moment, folks, as I pull up the news that I've had it sent here. I hope you're all doing well today. It is great to see you. And as I said, I'm playing around with the overlays. I don't know if this will be quite the one, but I did put up my up here. If I can point to it, right there is the logo. So, okay. About yes, the new Superman. I'm excited about that. And here's what I'll tell you why. Because with I saw a mock-up someone did of the young man who's playing Superman as Superman. And I saw this thing, and it looks awesome. He really does look like he could play the part, and I'm ready for that. I'm ready to see what he has to bring to the role. I'm ready to see what James Gunn has in the works for it. I'm excited about it. One thing that I found very interesting this week is I was going through my. I like to look up little news tidbits, things to discuss. Since we're all up on the AI stuff, Congress has set limits on staff chat GPT use. That's right, folks. The House is placing a new guardrail around the use of the popular AI chatbot Chat GPT. And this story is by Andrew Solander, and it's from, Axios. Why this matters. It's the latest example of how Washington is grappling with the implications of recent explosive growth in generative AI, both legislatively and personally. And a memo to House staff members on Monday morning, a copy of which was obtained by Axios, the Chamber's Chief Administrative Officer, Catherine L. Spizendor, wrote that officers are only authorized to use the paid Chat GPT Plus. Unlike the free service, she says the $20 per month subscription version incorporates privacy features that are necessary to protect the House data. Here's my question. Why are they using ChatGPT in Congress? Why is anybody in the government using ChatGPT? That is very scary. She said, in addition to the other versions of ChatGPT, no other large language models are authorized for use. All right, so there are regulations on how to use the tool. Hello, Sean Holmes. Good to see you. Officers are allowed to use the tool for research and evaluation only and can experiment on how it can improve their operations, but are not authorized to incorporate into regular workflow. So they're allowing people that work in Congress, like staffers, to use Chat GPT for research and evaluation only. I don't know why you would do that. Officers should only input non-sensitive data, she added, instructing staffers not to paste into the chatbot any blocks of text that have not already been made public. Maybe it's me, but this sounds like it's going to go off the rails. Some attorneys use canned language. Some attorneys use canned language and have to cite specific parts of the code federal regulations. Ah. I see. I see. Let's see here. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. Oh, not pretty cool, but I guess if that works out that way, and they I guess that's just the way they can do it correctly, you know. The Code of Federal Regulations is consistently cited over and over again, and some of the most repetitive language that its original language. That is very true. That is very, very true. Yeah. I don't know. I have a feeling that one of these days someone's going to put something in there that they're not supposed to. You'll see. Someone will do that, and then we'll have this big problem with that. But anyways, I digress. On the other news front, Angela Bassett. How great is she as an actress, Angela Bassett? She is getting an honorary Oscar this year. She is, and Mel Brooks is, and a couple of other people are. It's for her work that she's done over the years. It's funny because most people they give the honorary Oscar to, some people when they're older or they're closer to, you know, the end. But I think she deserves it. Angela Bassett's a fantastic actress. Fantastic actress. And I congratulate her, and I congratulate Mel Brooks as well. Now, on the other front, there was a, I guess maybe it was last year or the year before, they announced there was, or maybe right before the pandemic happened, there was going to be a Honey, I Shrunk the Kids TV show, but it would be like a sequel that took place 30-something years later. And Josh Gad was going to be the son of Rick Moranis, and they were going to have Rick Moranis come back. And they had everything. And then they had the scripts, and they had the casting. And then the pandemic happens. And I said, okay, we'll wait. And in the end, it was announced it was the budget that got them. They just can't do it now, which is kind of sad. I think I would have liked to have seen a Rick Moranis return to that role. I mean, a lot of actors are now returning to former roles that they played in the past. And I'm just very interested in seeing how that would have worked. Maybe somewhere down the line we'll get it. Which, would be great. Let's see, what else do we have here? Oh, and now I lost it. Let's see here. Now, on the other news front, let's talk about Columbia Pictures. Columbia Pictures is suing to retain the rights to the Bad Boys story. Columbia Pictures is all right. So this is from the Hollywood Reporter, and it was reported on Monday and written by Winston Cho. And it says here, Columbia Pictures is suing George Gallo, who wrote the story that was developed into the 1995 action hit Bad Boys, to reassert its rights to the movie franchise. For those of you who don't know, originally Bad Boys, the Will Smith, Martin Lawrence film, was going to star Dana Carvey, John Lovitz. That's we know where that went. In a complaint filed in California federal court Friday, the studio argues that Gallo can't exploit a provision in copyright law that allows authors to claw back ownership of their work after a certain period of time. It is asking the court for a declaration that Gallo penned the story as a work made for hire, which would make it ineligible for termination. Bad Boys, which marked Michael Bay's first feature and starred Martin Lawrence and Will Smith, has spawned 2 sequels and a TV spinoff, and Sony is reportedly eyeing a 4th installment to the franchise, with the duo expected to return. When the word of those plans broke, Gallo served the studio with termination notices that purportedly to terminate the assignment of his copyright to both Columbia Pictures and Sweet Revenge Productions. His own loan out. He asserts Columbia Pictures lost its U.S. rights as of June 27th, 2022, to make new works based on his 1985 story that Bad Boys is based on, called Bulletproof Hearts. U.S. copyright law gives the authors or their heirs the ability to recapture previously transferred copyrights, typically after waiting 35 years for newer works. Studios recently have been fighting legal battles over the rights to iconic franchises birthed in the 1980s, including Top Gun, Predator, Terminator, and Friday the 13th. But works were made for hire aren't subject to termination, which Columbia's main argument is in this suit. In a 1985 contract, George Gallo represented that he, quote, created and or wrote the story as an employee for hire of Sweet Revenge, according to the complaint. Gallo attempts to get around the argument by claiming he had personal rights to the story that he subsequently assigned to his production company, the suit says. Columbia, however, questions the representation. The studio stresses that Gallo, in his termination notice, for the first time ever asserted to Columbia Pictures that on September 23rd, 1985, just one day before he and Sweet Revenge made the agreement, Gallo had assigned his purportedly personal rights in the story to Sweet Revenge. Interesting. If the assertion is true, the suit says that Gallo was duty-bound to disclose the flat-out inconsistency between representations in his contract with Columbia Pictures and any claim that he attempted to assign a copyright to his story to his production company. Gallo cannot have it both ways. He cannot make representations to induce the purchase of the story and then avoid the consequences of later claiming the representations were false, writes the studio's lawyer Kelly Klaus in the complaint. This is a very interesting story, and as they said, there have been in the past many lawsuits with Terminator, most recently Top Gun, and it's a slippery slope. And I think going forward, even if this doesn't go through, I think going forward, writers are going to have to work on that, so that it does sound complicated. I think writers need to go forward with saying, look, this is my work. I've made this. If you want to buy it, here's the deal. You can make your sequels, but after a certain amount of time, the rights come back to me. And that goes in the contract. And as long as that is in a contract, the studios have to give the rights back to the writer or heirs to that writer. I think it is a complicated situation, and again, it's what the writers are fighting for. I recently saw that the Animation Guild is out for support for the writers' strike as well. The SAG, the Screen Actors Guild, are all ready to strike because tomorrow, June 30th is the cutoff date of negotiations for the Screen Actors Guild. And if they don't come up with a solution by then after tomorrow, we may have two guilds striking, which means anything that's in production right now gets shut down. Die Hard, Deadpool 3, that gets shut down. Whatever it all gets shut down if the actors go on strike. And then you want to see an influx of reality television, you're gonna get it. Sean Holmes, also welcome to the show, Sean, says, are you surprised about the issue of Warner Brothers' Flash movie making under $55 million on a $250 million budget, or Warner Brothers' net loss of $1.2 billion? What's the cause? Okay, am I surprised? Yes and no. And I'll tell you why. Is that everybody was excited for this movie, and it took so long to make. It's funny because The Flash was announced just as the TV show started. Cut to 9 years later, the show ends, the movie is finally coming out, or is out, I should say. And I think once the problems with Ezra Miller came up, people decided, well, this movie's going to fail. I don't want to see it because of Ezra Miller. And then you have James Gunn, who made his announcements about what's going to happen going forward. So I think that may have killed the enthusiasm for The Flash. But then again, you look at Black Adam, and that's not much of a well-known character, but people know Black Adam is a enemy. It's like a villain or an enemy of Shazam, and he didn't want him in Shazam, and it's a complicated situation. And then you got the whole Henry Cavill situation, and people are up in arms over that. And I think a lot of people went into thinking, well, they're not going to get my money. I'm going to make sure this fails. And I think people wanted to see this movie fail because they weren't getting what they wanted. They weren't getting their Henry Cavill. So they decided, we're just going to make sure this fails. And that's my opinion. I don't know this for a fact, folks. As of Warner Brothers making it on a $250 million budget, I think movies can be made for a smaller amount. Like, it's funny because I went the other night and I was on the Phantasmagorium channel. By the way, check out the channel, like, comment, subscribe to them as well. And we were doing a talk discussion on the Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, and we were talking about how much it made and whatnot. And so then, we got on to how many people were killed in the movies and how much it made and whatnot. And I wondered, how much did it cost to make the first movie? So to make Raiders of the Lost Ark, it took them $18 million. It's $18 million that cost to make it. In today's money, that would be thank you very much. Thank you very much. And in today's money, the Raiders of the Lost Ark would cost about between $53 and $58 million to make. And that's because there would be a lot of CGI in that. And the reason that, excuse me, and the reason that those movies did well was a lot of practical effects. In some films are starting to do practical effects again. Some will use practical effects, but they want to go with CGI because it's a lot easier. I think if you make a movie for, a short amount of money, small amount of money, like 18 million, or even 18. Let's say 18 to 25 million. That movie would do better. Like, if you notice that movies that have smaller budgets, some of them make a bigger amount of money. And even Rob has said that. I think going forward, because you have James Gunn in charge of DC, and he's someone who's made movies, and he knows how much to make with a budget to make a movie and stuff. I think he'll probably try doing it on a smaller scale or maybe slightly modest scale. So the movies, even if they don't do that well, they'll still recuperate their money back. On a personal No, I think that we as the public kind of not obsessed, but yeah, in a way, we're kind of obsessed with how much a movie makes. And it's, I don't understand what that has to do with the public. You know, I mean, I don't understand. If you're in the public and you don't have a piece of the pie, you're not getting any of that money. I mean, yes, we all want a movie to do well, but I think we've gotten ourselves to the point where a movie has made $1 billion. So every movie now has to make that $1 billion, and if it doesn't, oh, it's bad. I think we got to stop for a while until the movies really do come back. Stop it. Trying to hit that $1 billion mark. Make movies for smaller amounts of money for now until things get back into the groove and whatnot. But it's Hollywood. Um, let's see here. Do you think the Snyder fans will prevent Gunn's Warner Brothers DCU projects since they stole credit for undermining Suicide Squad 2? Like I said before, people have this mentality of thinking a movie is going to be terrible. It's going to it's going to fail without even knowing what the plot is, without even knowing how the movie is, without even knowing who's in it. And then you find out who's in it, and it could be like the greatest actors in the world. That movie's going to stink. That movie's going to do this. That movie's going to do that. And I think it's gotten to a point where, yeah, some Snyder fans are like that, but everybody wants what they like, you know? But I think even as Rob said, you may enjoy the Snyder films, but some of them are just too dark and gloomy. You know, they don't have an okay ending. You know, you're not satisfied with the ending. And I think that in all honesty, the Snyder films are great. Don't get me wrong, the Snyder films are great. I would have loved to have seen a continuation of like they. From what I heard, was that they were watching the returns of the Flash, because if it done well, a Batman Beyond movie was going to be made with Michael Keaton as Bruce Wayne. And I'm sure that every fan that heard that news looked at every person that decided that, oh, I'm not going to see the Flash, I'm not supporting the Flash, blah, blah, blah. They looked at those people and said, well, thank you. You've stopped us from seeing something that possibly could have been great. Yeah, a return to 90s style filmmaking would be awesome. And don't get me wrong, 90s filmmaking was excellent. Wayne's World and like in the 90s, you had everything from Wayne's World to Nell, which is one of my favorite Jodie Foster movies. From Wayne's World to Nell to like smaller movies like Enchanted April to just you had, how can I put this? The 90s was full of independent films. It really was. The golden era of independent films. Contact, exactly. Contact. Excellent film. Excellent film. I remember my brother and I went to see that. And I think I have that. I have the book for that here somewhere. I have the book. I have the audio book as well. Um, it's a fantastic film. Miramax, yeah. Like, I remember going and seeing Pulp Fiction for the first time. I went to, so for those of you who don't know, I went to a school in Madison, Connecticut called the Grove School. You can look up the school if you want. It's called the groveschool.org. That's their website. I'm sure they'll be happy to know that I'm pimping that school out. Where's my money? No, just kidding. So it was a residential school where you would live, and then like if you did your work and everything, like your homework and stuff, you got to either go home, or if it was your weekend to stay, you would get to go to the movies. Like every weekend they'll take you to the movies. They would take us on Friday nights to New Haven, to the York Square to see independent films and stuff like that. And then you would go to Old Saybrook. So I remember going in downtown Madison, Connecticut when I was in high school. And I remember going and seeing Pulp Fiction. I can't remember how it was. I said I wanted to see it, but I went by myself and I went to a night showing of it. That's what it was. They told me, "Hey, do you want to go to the movies?" I said, "Sure." So they gave me a coupon, and I went down. I got to see it for free. And I remember being blown away by it. And I was sitting in the theater just watching this film. And it got to the two parts of the well, no, there are three parts of that movie that stood out to me. It was the gimp scene. It was Christopher Walken and The Watch. And then it was the Bonnie situation. Those three little stories. And by the way, that kind of movie making blew me away because I'd never seen a movie like it. And I remember coming back to school that night and they were like, "So what did you think of the movie?" And I said, "It's a fantastic movie. I loved it. I don't know how to explain it to anybody. I need to see this again. But it is a good movie." And it is one of the highlights of the 90s for me. Like I remember going and seeing Clerks for the first time when it came out. I remember seeing, I think, Clerks, and I want to say, did I see Reservoir Dogs? No, I didn't see Reservoir Dogs. But I saw a movie like Clerks. I ended up seeing I got a love for foreign film. So I went and saw like Enchanted April with Joan Plowright, which she was up for an Oscar for. That was 93. It was about 92, 93, because it was the same year that Grumpy Old Men came out. So we really don't, we do see sort of good filmmaking like that, but not a lot. And I enjoy it. I love independent film. I do, because it's a smaller budget. It's sometimes they make it within 10 days, 12 days, 15 days, even a month, and that's it. You maybe get one or two takes, and that's it. And these are people that work their butts off to give you the best performance that they will give. And I think that we need more of that. Which to me, I think what comes the closest to being like an independent film. It's a show. It's on Prime Video. It's from Australia, and it's called Deadlock. And it's about these two women who are cops that are investigating a death. And it's not just one death, it's like multiple bodies that keep showing up. And it's hilarious. And it's some of the best television I've seen in a while. It's really great. And I do love those overseas shows like Midsummer Murders and uh, Endeavor and As Time Goes By, Are You Being Served, Faulty Towers, Doc Martin, and stuff like that. So yeah. Was that everything I had? Let me see. Well, Bad Boy Lawsuit. Oh yeah, and starting in July, on wherever you get your audiobooks, like Audible or whatever, there are going to be 3 new Hellboy books. The audiobooks, but they're being done by Graphic Audio, so it's like a full cast, sound, music, whatever. It's going to be really cool. Let's see here. Sean Holmes says, I heard about the Warner Brothers Batman Beyond rumors. Do you think Batman Beyond needs to be teased in an unrelated movie to become a theater release film? Yeah. Well, if something can set it up, like if you got to remember, like not everybody has seen Batman Beyond. All right. Not everyone has seen it. So I think it'd be an interesting idea, and I think you can either do it as a movie or do it as a show. You know, it'll work either way. So yeah, that's right. G.I. Joe was released in theaters before being teased in Transformers. Exactly. Which, as I've always told people, if you watch the animated Transformers film, the original one from 86, I think it was. If you watch it, you see, the original Transformers movie, you see that Optimus Prime dies. Spoiler alert, 40-year-old spoiler alert. Optimus Prime dies. And a lot of other Transformers. And I remember how much it devastated people. Me, for one, I remember that. And then I remember watching the G.I. Joe animated film. And if you watch that animated G.I. Joe film, you see, and I've watched it with the commentary, so I know what I'm talking about. If you watch it, you see that really they're saying Duke has died. So originally they killed off Duke in that animated movie, but because of all the backlash from Transformers, they had to change it to Duke is in a coma. So that's why Duke survives that movie at the end, because he's in a coma. Go figure. And hello to JH Edits, Sean Holmes, and Rampage Predacon. What else? All right, so for what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. In physical media news, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is getting a home physical. Let's see if I can get that again. Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is getting a 4K Blu-ray DVD digital release August 1st. And yes, there will be a commentary track from James Gunn on that, and I cannot wait to hear that commentary. I am a sucker for commentary tracks. I'm addicted to them. Love them. So on that scale, I wanted to, let's see here. Also today, I wanted to say, there's been a new trailer released for Dune Part 2. Has anybody seen the trailer for Dune Part 2? Yeah, there's a new trailer out if you have not seen it. And then they released a trailer for Five Nights at Freddy's, which looks insane. It just looks insane. And not only that, but they were saying Five Nights at Freddy was only going to Peacock. It's not just going to Peacock. It's going to theaters. It's going to Regal. I know that. Yeah, the trailer for Dune 2 was just released 46 minutes ago. Like right before I went live. So I have not seen it as well. But on the physical media side this week, I've gotten Evil Dead Rises. Evil Dead Rise. And it took me and I have not watched this yet. I have not watched Evil Dead Rise yet. I look forward to watching it. I enjoy the Evil Dead films. And the cool thing about Evil Dead, the title, Evil Dead Rise, because it takes place in the city, in Skyrise. I went, oh, Evil Dead Rise. Got it. But I look forward to watching it. And I know not a whole lot of people liked it. I have not seen it. But I look forward to it. Which, by the way, check out on the Burnett Network, Lana Yoon Reviews, where she does review Evil Dead Rise. And also check out Lana Yoon Reviews on YouTube as well. She's got a whole bunch of reviews on there, and she is such a great person. Really great person and very nice. Do I have an MCU Funko of Adam Warlock? No, I don't. Not yet. No. Sunday? Yes, Sunday I'm supposed to get my Funko box from Amazon. So I will find out Sunday what I'm getting, because it's really like a blind buy. Those Marvel Collector's Core Funko boxes, where you get 2 Funkos, a sticker, a pin, and a t-shirt. And you don't know which 2 Funkos you're getting. So maybe I'll get a Adam Warlock. Who knows? I know one of them I got was, I think, for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, and I ended up getting a statue Funko Pop. You know, if you watch Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, where they're in the alternate universe, and they come up upon the Sanctum, and there's that statue outside of Doctor Strange. Well, I have that statue. I have that as a Funko Pop. It's pretty cool. I'll have to show that next time I do a Funko Friday. But I wanted to show from my collection, one of the things I have is because I was born in 75. I'm a child of the 80s. One of my favorite things to do every now and then is put on some Saturday morning cartoons. That's right. I love this set. It comes with like each comes with like an episode from a different show from the 80s, like the Monchichis and Flintstone Kids and Mr. T and Dragon's Lair and Thunder the Barbarian and um, the Completely Mental Misadventures of Ed Grimley. Ed Grimley, kids. Ed Grimley. Martin Short. Right there. Quickie Koala. The Biscuits. The Monchichis. Gultar and the Golden Lance. That's right. The Chuck Norris cartoon as well. I don't know. How many of you remember the Chuck Norris cartoon? That's right. Remember everybody got a cartoon? Where you got Chuck Norris got a cartoon. And even at one point, Jackie Chan had his own cartoon. Like everybody had a cartoon. He had a cartoon. Mr. T had a cartoon. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I really like that. I used to watch the Mr. T cartoon. I used to watch the Dragon's Lair. I watched the Mork and Mindy cartoon. Like they gave everybody a cartoon in the 80s. John Candy had one. Rick Moranis had one. Yeah, so I enjoyed that. I'm a big fan of the 80s and those cartoons in those days. I remember getting up and watching those shows. And yeah, the Chuck Norris cartoon, I remember it vaguely. Like I remember there was a Rambo cartoon and Sylvester Stallone was not happy with that. He was not happy there was a Rambo cartoon, nor was he happy that there were Rambo toys for kids. I mean, Rambo was about a guy, a veteran who went off and started killing people because they wouldn't leave him alone, you know? But yeah. Yeah, the Rambo cartoon. There was Rambo. There was RoboCop at one point had a cartoon. Police Academy had a cartoon. That's right. The Karate Kid had a cartoon. Hanna-Barbera really made those great. It was Hanna-Barbera and Filmation. Those were the two studios that really made great Saturday morning cartoons. They were fantastically fun. I enjoyed them a lot. I remember they had Muppet Babies, and then they brought on Little Monsters, and then they brought the Muppets themselves on. By the way, I still think that if Disney played their cards right, I think they could do a Pigs in Space movie. I would love to see a Pigs in Space movie, and I think it would do well if done right. Just saying. Did I hear about how Al Pacino almost had the role of Rambo before Sylvester Stallone? No, I did not know that. I did not know that. You know, as a matter of fact, I saw a clip from the Sylvester Stallone's reality show with his family Stallone, and I think it was like he was in Philadelphia showing the kids around, and he showed them an area that was from where he did Rocky Balboa, and it was the area where he did that speech. It's not about how hard you hit; it's about how you get up. That one, that speech. And he was talking to his daughters about it, and he goes, "Look, I wrote that speech." He told them, "so I could someday say it to my kids." And he goes, "Now look at it, I'm telling it to you." And he's standing there telling them about it, and his daughters, all three of them, start from memory reciting that speech. It's not about how hard you hit; it's about how hard or fast you get up. That speech. And let's see here. Let's see. Rocky Balboa. How hard? Okay, here we go. I want to see the quote. Not okay. This is the quote that they used. Okay, it's not about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get. Wait, it's not about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. And his daughters were repeating it back to him. And you can, yeah, that's the speech. And you can see in Stallone's eyes that he's tearing up over this because his daughters know that speech inside and out. Which, by the way, if I believe two of his daughters do a podcast, and there's an episode where they interview Stallone. It's like the first time that he's ever done a podcast, and they're interviewing him, and he's talking about Rocky, and he says, Rocky is not a sports movie. He told them, it's not a sports movie. It's really a love story about a broken man and a broken woman, how they come together and they build each other up and make their lives better for themselves. And at one point, they were talking about in this podcast, they were talking about dating. The daughters were talking about dating and bringing someone home, and how one night, one of the daughters brought a prospective boyfriend home, and they were, kissing at the end of the night. Sorry about that. Sorry about that again. On a balcony, there's just a silhouette of Stallone, and he looks down on them, and it freaked out the kid, and he drove off, and his daughter never heard from the guy again. There are only two people you want to really be scared of dating. If they have daughters, you want to be afraid of dating their daughters. Stallone and Schwarzenegger. And as you all know, Schwarzenegger tricked Stallone into doing Stop When My Mom Will Shoot, because Schwarzenegger knew it was the worst movie in the world and said, well, I'm not going to do it. And Stallone was like, well, oh, it must be really good, or something like that. I forgot how we tricked them into doing it, but it's a funny story. It would have been really funny to see Schwarzenegger in that role. Schwarzenegger probably would have made that movie better. Yeah, well, Mel Gibson. No, I think with Mel Gibson is very much a devout Catholic. He's got a little church on his estate, So, I mean, that's why he made the Temptation of Christ and all that. Yeah, that's what I thought too. But Stallone has always said, I hate it that people think it's a boxing movie. It's not a boxing movie. It's a love story about two broken people who have to find a way to make their lives better than what it is. You have Adrienne, who's this mousy little girl this mousy woman who just uh, lives with her brother, who uh, only wants what's best for her, but treats her like crap because his life is in the dumper. And you got Rocky, who's a loan shark and not really that good of a boxer. So what do? They find someone, the people that Apollo Creed's people are like, yeah, we'll box him because he doesn't do well, but he'll be great. It'll be great. It'll be like excuse me, a great thing to get back to the community and stuff with. So yeah, it's interesting. I really like that. I would, if I could interview Stallone, I would say no. Rocky is both a sports movie and a love story. It works on those two levels. Yes, Scorsese did the Last Temptation of Christ, and Mel did the Passion. And boy, that Passion of the Christ is a brutal movie. That is a brutal movie. And from what I hear, is that when you watch that movie in a theater with people, it's like, I remember hearing people were crying and just not. It was so much. It's too much. It was too much for them. You're very graphic, but it was done so well and beautifully done, I might add. Very much so, beautiful done. And yeah. But Mel Gibson has also made Hacksaw Creek, which is another great one. Yes. Yes. The alternate ending to Rambo is the the ending that is in the novel. I don't think many people today know that Rambo was based on a novel called First Blood. And the man that wrote it was a Vietnam veteran, I believe. And yeah, it was supposed Rambo was about PTSD and dealing with that, and how this cop just basically you know, pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed. You poke the bear too much and it's gonna, the bear's gonna come after you. And that's what Rambo was. Yeah, Mel Gibson is an excellent director. I remember I was a very unusual child. Like, I would watch like serious movies as a kid. Like, I would watch I think I remember going with my parents to see The Man Without a Face. Have you ever seen Man Without a Face? And then, you just see he's about a disfigured man. And then when you learn the real story behind that movie, the real plot of the film, it's mind-blowing. It just blows you away like, oh, this is a heavy subject. What I found out last night, like, I listen to podcasts. I listen to a lot of different things. One of the podcasts I like to listen to is called Fly on the Wall. Young Mel, I would say somewhere in the 90s it came out. Let me see. Now you got me wondering. Let's see. By the way, my niece went and saw Asteroid City last night, and she loved it. She said it was a great movie. I can't wait to see it. Oh yeah, Man Without Country, Man Without a Face. Here we go. 1993, and it was a good cast too. It was Mel Gibson, Nick Stahl, Faye Masterson, Richard Mauser, Gabby Hoffman, Jeffrey Lewis. Jeffrey Lewis, who is Juliette Lewis's father. Michael DeLuise, Ethan Phillips. Yeah, it's it's been yeah. So, anyways, all right. Thank you for coming, RM. And folks, please remember to check out Positive Fandom. And tonight there is a live stream, I believe, of the movie Gettysburg. So check that out. Yes, Apocalypto was very good. Apocalypto was one of those movies I wasn't expecting. But then again, Mel Gibson did The Passion of the Christ in Aramaic, and then he did Apocalypto, I think, in the Mayan or Aztec language. Absolutely mind-blowing how he pulled that off. Absolutely mind-blowing. Nice. I'm going tomorrow at noon to see it. It's funny that there is a on Twitter. What's her name? Karen Allen was trending. Karen Allen, 71, is unrecognizable in her new movie. She's 71. Karen Allen was just down last weekend in my hometown, down at the movie theater I'm going to. I wish I would have remembered that, because I would have went and saw her. I would have tried to have gone and meet her. What are you going to do? By the way, folks, check out After the Sequels. YouTube.com/@After the Sequels. To check out Maria Espino's film that she's making. She's doing a what do you call it? A Star Wars fan film. Actually, she's not doing just a Star Wars fan film. She's doing 3 Star Wars fan films. Let's see here. If I can get out of this. Nope. There we go. Yeah, so Maria Espino is doing an animated Star Wars film. It's a fan film. And she's doing 3 of them and a television series as well. Let's see here. Which, by the way, folks, if you have not seen my live interview with Maria Espino, please take the opportunity to check it out, because it is a really great interview, and Maria explains a lot about her movie, her company, her life. It's a really great interview, and I can't wait to do my next one. Hopefully, it'll be with Robert Meyer Burnett, but we shall see. Yeah, she still looks good. She still looks good. She's 71, and people are like, well, she doesn't look recognizable. She's 71. Not everyone is going to look the same, you know. Some people still do look good as they do, but what are you going to do? It's life. People change, you know. Anyways, I listened to the Fly on the Wall podcast with Dana Carvey and David Spade. If you're into Saturday Night Live or comedy, this is the podcast for you. They have like over, I think, almost 100 guests. I think they've been doing it for the past 2 years or something like that. With guests such as Chevy Chase, Paul McCartney, Lauren Michaels, Bert Kreischer. The latest podcast is with Alec Baldwin. It's a great one, and they talk a little bit about The Edge, which if you know me, I love that movie. I adore that movie. It's one of my favorites with Alec Baldwin and Anthony Hopkins. And Alec Baldwin dropped a bombshell last night I shouldn't say last night, but on the podcast, that originally it was going to be Robert De Niro in the Anthony Hopkins part. And then the role called for the upper crust British type. And De Niro didn't think he could play it, so he dropped out. And that's when they got Anthony Hopkins. And Anthony Hopkins is fantastic in this movie. It's one of my favorite roles of Anthony Hopkins because of that one line in The Edge where Anthony Hopkins is telling Alec Baldwin, go on, say it. Well, one man can do, another man can do. And they're saying it over and over. And he goes, well, I'm going to kill the motherfucker. When he talks about killing the bear, he's like, I'm going to kill the motherfucker. Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny because one of the takeaways from that interview with Alec Baldwin is that he always used to talk about wanting to be a member of SNL, being the cast. And they were like, "Oh, come on and do Trump." And it'll only be 3 episodes and then you'll be done. And he says that he remembers going to bed and then waking up at 3:00 in the morning and looking at his laptop, and he sees that Trump has won, and he wakes up his wife and he goes, "Hey, Trump won." She looks at him and she rolls over and goes back to sleep. And Alec Baldwin goes, "Oh, fuck. Now I got to play Trump for the next 4 years." But he realizes that it was one of the hardest things he's ever had to do, but he loves playing in that sandbox. He'd rather do another TV show or do SNL than a movie, because a movie, you're away for, I don't know, a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever, you know? Yeah. His Trump is great. And I do love Dana Carvey and one of the, it made my jaw drop listening to this last night, is that Dana Carvey is older than yes, very briefly. Very, very briefly. Because, you know, you don't want just the episode to get too heavy. But but I found out that Dana Carvey is older than Alec Baldwin. Alec Baldwin is 65. Dana Carvey is 68 years old. Let that blow your mind, folks. That's right. 68 years old. But yeah, there's a lot of great shows. As a matter of fact, speaking of podcasts, Katie Sackhoff has a podcast with Christian Harloff called The Blah Blah Show. No, The Blah 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 Show with Katie Sackhoff. Yes. You know the story behind that. Doing the Carson. Carson had no problem with it until they did Carcinio. And that's what got Dana Carvey banned from The Tonight Show. Let's see here. That's not what I was listening on. Sometimes I'll listen to podcasts on either Audible or Spotify. Which, by the way, speaking of podcasts, Stitcher is closing down. As of August 23rd, 2023, Stitcher, the podcast app, will be no more. So here we go. Let's say today. Let's see here. Episodes. I want to see episodes. So for those of you who don't know, library, like they did an episode with yeah. So here are some of the guests that have been on the show. I hate doing this. Let's see here. I'll just look it up by the name. Fly on the Wall. Here we go. Fly on the Wall with Dana Carvey and David Spade. With guests such as Alec Baldwin, Taylor Tomlinson, William Shatner, Wayne Gretzky, Jason Sudeikis, Sarah Silverman, Julie Bowen, Kenan Thompson, Ray Romano, Rachel Dratch, Jay Leno, Burt Kreischer, Chris Kattan, Paul Rudd, Will Ferrell, Garrett Morris, Brendan Fraser. There's a great two-parter from December of 2022 that they did, which was a great tribute episode to Chris Farley. I highly recommend the Chris Farley tribute shows. It's a two-parter, must listen to. In September, they're doing a tribute to Phil Hartman. And at one point during the interview with Alec Baldwin, he starts talking about Phil Hartman, and he does this Phil Hartman impression. And he did it so well, it almost made Dana Carvey like emotional, because it's like he brought back Phil Hartman, who was one of the greats. But yeah, there's a lot of great interviews. Mike Judge is one of the interviews, which if you don't know, Mike Judge used to work on SNL at one point. Let's see. Martin Short, Molly Shannon, Adam Sandler, Jeff Goldblum, Dennis Miller. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. It's a really great show. Chris Rock, Conan O'Brien, Tom Hanks, John Lovitz, John Hamm, Ben Stiller, Drew Barrymore. The list goes on and on, and it's just it's a must listen to podcast. It's great, and the stories that they tell from behind the scenes is great. I think Paul McCartney was one of the guests as well. I think Paul McCartney was the most recent guest on Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend as well, talking about his book about pictures he's taken from the 60s. And yeah, it's an impressive show. I enjoy shows like that. Matter of fact, I like to listen to former past episodes of the Gilbert Gottfried's Amazing Colossal podcast, which, if you want a good laugh, listen to that podcast, because God damn, that man was hilarious. And he was also a member of SNL, and I'm sure they would have had him on the show if he was still around. The guest I'm waiting for is Dan Aykroyd to show up on the Fly on the Wall. I want some of the behind the scenes stories, you know. But I think I just saw an interview with Dan Aykroyd, like a little clip of what he did with Dan Rather. And they were talking about the Blues Brothers. And when they did the Blues Brothers, they were like, I just pay the artists, all the blues artists, 10%, and you get the rest. He goes, no. We'll take our half for doing our performance, but all the rest go to whoever wrote the songs and whoever originally were the artists on that, because they believed in taking care of those people, because the blues is one of the most underrated, unappreciated forms of music, where the blues players did not get the respect that they deserved. They didn't. Dan Aykroyd is someone I'd love to talk to. I'd love to talk to Dan Aykroyd about Blues Brothers. I would really love to see that original Blues Brothers script, because it was the size of 2 telephone books. And it was 2 films. It was The Blues Brothers and Return of the Blues Brothers. Hello to Irene Jobson. And if you look at Irene Jobson's little icon there, I designed that for her. Irene's a great person as well. Yeah, Gilbert was funny. I mean, I enjoy telling people little tidbits that Gilbert would say, like the whole Cesar Romero thing. Because Cesar Romero, who played the Joker on the Batman 66, even though he was known for being this on screen as a Latin Lothario, in real life he would, I guess you would say, gay. And Cesar Romero, the story goes that Cesar Romero would hire young men to come back to his dressing room. Cesar would stand in the middle of the room, pull his pants down, and have these young men throw orange wedges at his butt like a bullseye. And I love telling people that, because I don't know if it's true or not, but it's hilarious. And I think I told that one night in the chat of one of Rob's shows. I think I had about 5 people all believing it. I don't know how true it is, or if it was just something that Gilbert likes to start up, but it made me laugh so hard. And then the other thing was about Danny Thomas. If you don't know who Danny Thomas was, Danny Thomas used to have a show called The Danny Thomas Show. He helped create the Andy Griffith Show. And he also was one of the people behind St. Jude's Hospital. Well, the story goes is that Danny Thomas had a fetish. He used to like to hire women to come back to his room or wherever he was, and he would slide underneath the glass table, and I think you could put two and two together of where that was going. If he was under a glass table, what were those women doing on top of the table? Mm-hmm. Yeah. But, you know, I've and apparently that's it's a true story. Because if you listen to the podcast, there are some people that do confirm it. Like there are people that confirm the whole what's his name? Milton Berle story. That Milton Berle used to like to just take it out and show it to people. So yeah, that's something there. And as always, folks, please remember, if you have a comment or a comment, or you want to write in a letter, we do have an email. That's right, we have an email. Let me see. I'm looking it up here because I gotta reset all these. Just a moment. It is Tom's something email 69, and I chose the 69 at, there we go. No, I did not get any more weird fee emails. As far as I don't know. Let's see here. No, letters. Letterbox. Here we go, mail. Let us check the mail. Okay, there we go. Yes, so yes, that's the email for the show. What was I going to say? Oh, yes. So, mail. No new mails yet. So we are all set on mail. And don't forget that, let's see here. Don't. Yes, you should send an email to test it. Just my luck, I'll be getting some dirty emails from you. Let's see here. That's right. And if you are a fan of Lana Yoon, who does Lana Yoon's check out Lana Yoon's OnlyFans channel as well. She has an OnlyFans, folks. And please remember to hit that like button. And if you're new here, press the subscribe as well. Ring that little yellow bell. Ring the little bell, and you'll be notified whenever a new show goes up or a new video goes up or we go live. Yeah, Lana's a great friend, so I want to try to get her and her husband, or either her and her husband, to come on, and I'd like to interview them. That would be fun. I don't know what it's from. I just found it. I recently just got the pro version of this, and I'm playing around with overlays. So I tried this. I'm going to play around with it, so the next time I do a live stream, it'll look a little bit better. But yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to do this better. So it looks cool, you know. Don't forget Friday nights, 8 p.m. 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern on the network. Check out RM and Julian Mushkin for PGS Treks, where they get their check on. And don't forget every there we go. And don't forget every Sunday morning, 10:30 a.m. Eastern, 7:30 a.m. Pacific, on Positive Fandom, you can watch RM live as she does her Sunday morning brunch. Yeah, this is the pro. Will I be YouTube hosting on Friday, June 30th at 10 a.m.? No, I will not, because I'm probably be getting ready to go to the movies. So I'm going at noon. Okay, folks, I think I'm going to call it, because nature is calling me. But I want to thank you all for coming. I want to thank Sean Holmes, Irene Jobson, RM, my fantastic moderator, good friend to the channel, and friend as well. JH Edits, and who's ever watched. And if you like the show, please like, comment, subscribe, ring the notification bell, send in an email, send me a postcard, drop me a line. As I say, which movie am I seeing? Is Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. And on that note, folks, remember, we're all goof people. Have a good day, and I'll see you around.